This is going to be a tutorial video on how to install LED indicators on the front of the Vulcan S. I've already put in a rear fender eliminator and I've got the LED indicators on the back, so to match them up on the front we're going to install them likewise. I've already done one side and seems to have worked out pretty well for me, and I've only used stock OEM parts that come with the bike. I've removed the other side, and if you look closely inside, there's a bit of a channel for the cabling to go through, and that would normally just sit in there like that. What we're going to do is we're going to cut this off just here and this part off just there, and we're going to drill out this part here to take the new indicator. Now I'm not going to use this one because I don't need the ones for the back, so I'm going to do this one just in case anything goes wrong. I've got a spare. So I've pulled off the lens cap, I've taken out the reflector, disconnected the two lugs for the wires, and we're just going to pull that straight through. And that will then just pull the neck off. There's that, don't need that anymore. Pull the wires through. And there we have the neck, that's free. This is all one molded piece, so it's just plastic, so a hacksaw in a vise or a sharp Stanley knife will do. So I'm just going to pause this and get that done, and we'll see when it's done. And that's the piece we need. Just trim any excess lips from the plastic neck off, and we're going to use that, which is going to fit back in there like that. I apologise for the shaking camera and not getting the right angles properly. I'm trying to do this and hold the camera at the same time. So I'm just going to trim that off, and then we'll be back to drilling. Okay, so I'm going to put this in and screw it in, because we're going to use that to keep the plate still, so we can get the right hole lined up perfectly. Now we need to use a 10mm drill bit. I'm using the Oxford branded LED indicators. They've got a 10mm threaded tube had the wires feeding through to it, so it was difficult trying to find a fork light bracket that had a vertical mount. Most of them have a horizontal mount, so I've resorted to having to modify the stock pieces. So first we're going to drill this out with a 10mm. Like so. Now I'm going to stop there because I need to get the right angle, because you want to be dead straight, and I can't do that with one-handed. So this is what the LED indicator from Oxford looks like. This threaded tube here, that's the wires going through, that's about a 10mm hole. So we're going to drill a 10mm hole in the side of our mounts so that thread can go through. The problem we've also got though is the nut, which is going to be attached to it, is a bit bigger than 10mm. So it's about sort of roughly 15mm. So we need to have to make some room for that to go in as well. As you can see, we've now made our 10mm hole. If you've got something like a drill press, I would recommend using that. You can get a nice straight down drill. Alright, so now when you use that there, we need to drill out behind inside. This will make it a bit like a guide hole for the bigger screw, bigger drill for the nut to fit in behind. So I'm going to drill this out, and then we'll take it out and we'll drill out a bigger hole with the 15mm. So what we've drilled out now is this part just here. Normally that's where, I guess, like a guide sort of plug from the original part. This part just here sort of sits in, but we don't need that anymore because we're going to cut that off. And we need to drill this part just out here. If I can get there we go. Come on, camera. This bit here anyway, we're going to drill that out so we can get the nut and spring washer in there. This is how we want the light to attach. So that's just that little plug like sort of piece, and we've put the light in through. So now we're going to put that in there, and it's going to go in there, but let's see, because the nut, it's not going to fit, so that's why we need to drill that bigger hole, and then that'll fit in nice and flush. Now I'm using about a 15mm speedball type bit. I'd advise that you just measure across the two longest points of your nut to work out what size hole you need to drill. Mine was about 15 and it works the best, so this is what I'm using. Now you've got to be careful drilling out, because you've got the tip of this drill bit. You don't want that going through the front of your forks. So take it easy, take it nice and slowly, just do little bits at a time, so you don't end up going too far. So we've just drilled out some of it. You probably can't really see in there all too well, but I haven't drilled too far and can't really get the right angle so I can get enough light in there. But I've drilled some of it out. It looks a bit messy. Just get in some bullnose pliers. Oh, sorry, not bullnose, needle nose pliers. Just get in there and just pull back any bits of plastic just to tie up a bit, or get a blade in there and clean it up. Then what we need to do is just test it. Put it in. Now it's not quite flush, so I haven't gone far enough. But as you can see, we're actually getting the nut in there now. It's enough space for that. So we'll just take it out and we'll drill a little bit more in until that's nice and flush with the mount here. Okay, so it looks pretty messy in there, but we've sort of cleared out that space there for the nut to go into. You can tidy that up as much as you want, but in my opinion it's going to be hidden from view, so I'm not really too fussed of how mangulated it looks in there. Alright, so now we're going to just test to make sure we're going in far enough. And that's looking pretty darn close. I'm happy with that. You can go in a bit further and trim it out a bit and whatever, but that's pretty damn flush. I'm only out by 1 or 2 mil. Alright, and then we just attach the screw on the other side, and it's in. Now we've got the light fixture in. What I've put on the outside of the wires is some heat shrink. This is actually a dual wall heat shrink that is 4 times shrink, so it shrinks down to 25% of its size. It's got a glue liner on the inside, so it makes it watertight. And if you can sort of see where the glue has melted outside of the tip of the heat shrink. You can use normal heat shrink, but I like this sort of stuff. It keeps it watertight, and it hides those green and orange wires that you don't want sort of sticking out like a sore thumb along the bike. Next up, we're going to wire it all up and make sure it all works. To get the headlight off was where we need to wire the blinkers up to. We've got a bolt there and a bolt there which we need to undo, and then the light will actually just lift off. So we'll take those off and then I'll show you how to lift the top of the light off. You can buy these lengths of dual wall heat shrink from any JK Electronics store or a JK Electronics authorised stocker. Leading Edge Electronics is a pretty common one which stocks all the JK Electronics stuff. You can even buy them online from the JK website. They're not very expensive, a couple of bucks for a length. So we've taken out the bolts, and on top of the light we've got these two sort of catches which the light sits on, pins, whatever you want to call them, one on each side. If I can get there it is. So the light just lifts straight off. And there we have it. Okay, so the blinkers, or the indicators, are connected in. The indicators are connected inside this wiring harness just here. So if I trace one of the wires, there's my original indicator. Try and follow it up. And we'll lift this up. Okay, so I've rolled it up. There's one indicator connection, and there's the other. So what we're going to use is these. These will just connect straight into the original OEM plug, and they'll connect into your indicators. This is from Oxford. They supply it for a variety of different models of bikes. I got these from Bike Biz, where I bought the indicators from. You just, on the website, you just pick which brand of motorcycle you've got, and they should have the appropriate style plug for it. So I've plugged them in, but I haven't connected it up to the indicator yet. They're just hanging loosely. The reason I've done that is because when we put the heat shrink on, I don't know which colour wire is what. So what we'll do is we'll just connect them to the bullet connectors. Just connect or plug them in so they're not actually sort of fully pushed in, but just making contact. Turn your bike on, put your indicators on, and if it works, it'll light up. If it doesn't, you've got them back to front. So then just pull them out, switch them over, and they should start. It should work. So just like that, I've just pushed them in so they're making contact. They're not fully squashed in, so they're actually gripping, but there's metal on metal, so it's going to make contact. So if I'll now put the indicator on, it's not working. Back to front. So I'll try and do this one-handed. Let's just swap it around. You can't see, I'm sorry, I use it to take my word that I'm swapping them around. There we go, swap them around and it's working. So now I can just push those in so they are connecting, and then do the same for the other side. And the other side, once again, just making sure they connect. So, and I'm trying to get this all on camera. I'm trying to do this a bit hard when you're trying to do this one-handed, with one hand holding the camera, the other hand doing what you need to do. But we can see that it's working. So we'll just go ahead and push those in, and then we can tidy up all the wires, cable tie them, just keep it neat and tidy behind the headlight. Put the headlight back on, and Bob's your friggin' uncle. Done. And there we go. It's all put back together. All nice and neat. All the cables are routed and tidied up. I think it looks pretty darn sweet. One thing I'll point out though is that you will need a resistor of some sort with the LEDs, because they have a lower current draw. Then the stock relay doesn't flash at the right time, as most people are sort of aware that once you put LED indicators on it flashes a lot faster. So there's two ways you can do it. You can put an individual resistor in line with each indicator, or you can buy a replacement flasher relay that replaces the stock indicator relay on the bike, which is what I've done, so that I only had to have one relay to control all 4 LED indicators. I did find a bit of trouble trying to find the stock flasher or indicator relay on the bike, as I was getting a lot of different information from various different websites to whereabouts it was. Some said it was underneath the tank, some said it was underneath the seat, and it is underneath the tank. So what you need to do, sorry about the finger across the lens, what you need to do is you need to take off, this just pops off. You can use your finger or a bit of screwdriver, that whole ring around there just pops off. Undo the 4 bolts which holds this shroud on. I'm losing a bit of light here, but there's a bolt there. There it is. I've just put the torch on the bolt, and one on the other side. But it is underneath through here. You got to get your hand in there, about sort of in line there, underneath the tank. Attached to the frame is where you will find the stock indicator relay. It's a bit tricky to get in there. If you're prepared to take the tank off, it'll make it a lot easier. I wasn't, so it was a bit tricky, and it is a very tight squeeze, but I eventually got it on. And yes, I didn't have to worry about putting individual resistors on each indicator. And yeah, job done. I'm happy with it. Looks a lot better than the big bulky indicators that come with it. I really do like the way the back of it looks, with the fender illuminator and the indicators, which are just tucked away nicely underneath the rear fender. I'll put all links in the description for where I got all the parts from. But I decided to make this because I could not find any information on YouTube or anywhere of any way of mounting LED indicators on the Vulcan S with the stock fork clamps. Sorry about the dodgy filming of the camera. Trying to do it with one-handed. I don't own a tripod. So I tried to look through the camera to see I was making sure I was getting it all on the camera, but also look to see what I was doing with my other hand. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. I'll try and answer everyone I can. Thank you.